Hi, I'm Cheryl Ann from Cherry Lane's Cupcakes, and today I'm going to show you how to make Maltesers high hat cupcakes. These are a chocolate malt cupcake with a Malteser coated in malt fudge hidden within the cupcake and topped with a honeycomb malt Swiss meringue frosting, then dipped in delicious milk chocolate and chilled till an outer chocolate shell forms. The malt flavors in the cupcake might seem a little bit subtle at first, but every aspect of this cupcake was constructed to mimic the flavors of a Malteser when consumed as a whole. Anyways, enough talking, let's get straight into it! You'll need half a cup of caster sugar. You may also know this as granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 30 grams of unsalted butter softened to room temperature, 1 large egg plus 1 large egg yolk, 30 grams of milk chocolate that will be melted, a quarter cup plus 1 tablespoon of canola or vegetable oil, a sixth of a cup, which is 28 grams that I use, of full-fat sour cream, a quarter cup of Horlicks powder or any other malted drink powder that you can find, a quarter cup of cocoa powder, half a cup of plain flour, a quarter teaspoon of salt, and a quarter teaspoon of baking soda. On top of that, you will also need to have another half a cup of Horlicks or any other malted drink powder, and finally another half a cup of warm milk. First of all, I just transferred my milk into a microwave safe mug, stuck it into the microwave, and then just microwaved that for about a minute until the mug was warm to the touch. After which, I just transferred my half a cup of Horlicks in 2 parts into my half a cup of warm milk. Keep stirring constantly until all of your Horlicks is completely dissolved with no more chunks or lumps caught inside your milk, and then it should look really smooth like this. Then just stick it into your fridge, and now you're ready to go on to your next step. Now in a large bowl, beat together your caster sugar as well as your softened unsalted butter on a low speed, and then when it starts to kinda come together, you switch it onto a higher speed and keep beating that until everything comes together and it should look like coarse crumbs. Try to ensure that the bowl you're using is a deeper bowl rather than a wider one, because of the amount of butter and sugar mixture there is, it would kind of fly around and be a bit messy. Next, just heat your chocolate up in the microwave at 10-second intervals. You don't want to heat it up for longer than 10 seconds at a time because you could potentially overheat them, causing your chocolate to burn. So once your chocolate looks something like this, where you can still see bits of chocolate inside, like still like lumpy and stuff, don't worry about it, just keep on stirring because the heat from the bowl and the already melted chocolate will continue to help melt your chocolate. So keep stirring it until your chocolate looks really smooth like this. Once it gets to this point, just pour it into your butter and sugar mixture and just whisk that for about a minute or so until everything is evenly distributed throughout. Don't forget to scrape down the sides of the bowl as you go along to ensure that you thoroughly incorporate all of the ingredients together. Next, separate one of your large eggs, saving the egg white for later when you use it in your Swiss meringue frosting. And you can separate this by cracking your egg into half and tossing the yolk back and forth, letting the egg whites fall into a really clean bowl down below. After which, just add your egg yolk plus 1 large egg into your butter and sugar mixture along with your vanilla extract, and you want to beat that for about 3 to 5 minutes until everything is thoroughly incorporated and all your sugars have dissolved and they should look really smooth. Don't forget to scrape down the sides as you go along to ensure that you really incorporate every single ingredient. Once that's done, add in your oil and your sour cream and just keep beating that until everything looks really smooth like this. Next, in a separate bowl, sift together all of your dry ingredients of the Horlicks, cocoa powder, plain flour, baking soda, salt, and just sift that through using the back of a spoon to push in the rest of the cocoa and give it a good mix through until everything is evenly distributed throughout. Now just remove your Horlicks and milk mixture from the fridge, give it a rough stir as a film may have formed on top, and then add in your dry ingredients to your wet batter in 2 different parts, starting with half of your dry ingredients. Gently just stir it around because you don't want all your flour to just suddenly poof up and go all over the place. So once it kind of comes together, you just beat it on a medium speed. And then just add in half of your Horlicks and milk mixture, keep beating that, and then the rest of your flour mixture, beat that, and finally the rest of your Horlicks mixture. And then just keep beating that for about a minute. Don't forget to scrape down the sides as you go along, and be careful not to overbeat it. You want to make sure that the baking soda is still reacting with your wet batter as you scoop it into your cupcake holders and prepare to put them in the oven as soon as possible. So now that you're done with the batter, all you have to do is line 12 cupcake cups and fill them up to about 3/4 of the way full. During this time, ensure that your oven is preheated to 175 degrees Celsius, and you want to bake that for 15 minutes at 175 degrees Celsius, and then bring it down to 150 degrees Celsius for another 5 minutes, and then bring it down again to 135 degrees Celsius for another 10 minutes. You will know that your cupcakes are completely done when you stick a toothpick into one of them and it comes out clean. Once your cupcakes have completely cooled, use a small sharp knife and now you can begin coring your cupcakes. You want to cut it such that it's about 1.5 centimeters wide and 1.5 centimeters deep. So as you can see here, I'm just gently stabbing it in about 1.5 centimeters deep and just going around. You don't need to be exact, just make sure that they are slightly bigger than the size of a Malteser so that you can put in your malt fudge sauce as well as your Malteser inside of that. So now I just try to scrape out the sides to make it a neater well around it so that I can fill it with more of the delicious malt fudge sauce. I wouldn't recommend trying to core your cupcakes when they've just come out of the oven because first of all it's going to be too hot, and secondly they are quite delicate when they are still warm. So now just continue doing this for all 12 cupcakes, and now you're ready to go on to make your malt fudge sauce. So for the malt fudge sauce, you'll need 1/8 of a cup of milk, which is half of a 1/4 cup, 2 heaped teaspoons of thickened cream, which is approximately 23 grams that I use, as well as half a cup of Horlicks or any other malt drink that you can find. So now in a saucepan, add in your Horlicks and your milk, and on a really low heat, start stirring together your Horlicks and your milk until you've completely dissolved your Horlicks. You'll find that the Horlicks will kind of get really sticky and roll up into a ball. Just keep stirring it. Really gotta make sure that it's on low heat because you don't want to burn your Horlicks and over caramelize it. So you're just melting it together with your milk, and once your mixture looks something like this, when you pull it away and you can kind of draw a line through it and it doesn't fall back and it's not too melted yet, you can see that there's still a little bit of like chunks inside. Take it away from the heat, keep on stirring that, and then add in your cream. Keep mixing it until everything looks really smooth, and it should look something like this, with ribbons of the malt fudge sauce just dripping down from your spoon. Anyway, now that that's done, just drip teaspoons of the malt fudge sauce into the cores of your cupcakes. And as you can see, it's quite a sticky sauce, so just take your time to slowly let the drizzle of the fudge sauce just drop into your cupcakes, and then take a Malteser and stick it right in the middle of the fudge. Make sure you filled it up to at least about 3/4 of the way full, and then as you push it in, oh, just look at that, it just slowly rises back up again. Just thinking about it makes me want to eat it right now. But we're not done! We still have to go on to make the honeycomb Maltesers meringue frosting. So for that, you will need 3 large egg whites, so one of the egg whites that was from making the cupcake, and just separate 2 more of those egg whites. 45 grams of Horlicks or any other malt drink that you can find. 210 grams of unsalted butter that is chilled and firm. 3 teaspoons of honey. And finally, 1 cup of caster sugar. So now, as you separate your eggs, be sure to transfer your already separated egg whites into a very clean glass or metal mixing bowl every time after you finish separating 1 egg. This is so that if, let's say, your second or your third egg yolk suddenly breaks as you are separating them, you're not going to have to waste all of the egg whites that you've already separated. So, as always, separating your egg yolk from your egg white just entails splitting the egg into half and tossing the yolk back and forth, allowing the egg whites to fall into the bowl below. Once you're done with that, stick the metal bowl over a saucepan of simmering water, add in the caster sugar, and just keep stirring that until all of your sugar is completely dissolved. Make sure that your flame is on a medium-sized flame so that you don't accidentally overheat your eggs. You don't want to cook it because that will end up scrambling your eggs. You're just heating it up so that they will be safe enough to consume. Ideally, you would need a candy thermometer for this step, but if you don't have one, you can just go old school and try to feel between your fingers, but be very careful not to burn yourself, and just feel for whether or not all the sugar granules has completely dissolved into the egg white mixture. But if you do have a candy thermometer, make sure that it reaches to at least 40 degrees Celsius and a max of 71 degrees Celsius. So now that I've put in my thermometer, and as you can see, it is increasing rapidly, the temperature. So once it hit about 65, I estimated that it's probably already 70 degrees. So I quickly removed that and began whipping it on a low to medium speed for a good 5 minutes just to quickly try to cool down the meringues so that they won't keep getting hotter and hotter. So once you keep whipping that until the meringue feels cool to the touch, like not cold but at least to room temperature, switch it on to high, and you want to whip that for a good 15 to 20 minutes until your meringues reach stiff peaks. Stiff peaks look something like this. When you lift the mixer from your bowl, it should not fall flat back down but have a little peak standing up like here. So now just take your butter that has been chopped into chunks, and as you can see, they're still really quite firm. And then just drop about a couple chunks into your mixture at a time and start mixing it on a low speed, and kind of just let your whisk, like, it looks like it's eating the butter and breaking it down and beating it together. And once it's kind of mixed, just add in another couple chunks and continue this process until you finish whipping in all of your butter. And as always, don't forget to scrape down the sides as you go along to ensure that you thoroughly incorporate all of the ingredients together. And now that you've got it to look really smooth, add in 3 teaspoons of honey and just blitz that for a while until there are no more streaks of honey inside. After which you can add in your Horlicks powder and just mix that thoroughly until everything looks smooth. Take note that the Horlicks will not dissolve in this mixture, giving it a kind of a gritty texture to your frosting, which kind of reminds me of how, when you eat a Malteser and after that crunch, the grittiness of the honeycomb malt is still very prominent. So the grittiness of this frosting was intended to kind of mimic that texture. Anyways, once you're done, your mixture should look something like this, and as you can tell, it's definitely too fluid to be put onto your cupcakes right at the moment. So just cover it up with some foil and stick it into your fridge for a couple hours for it to firm up once again. Once it's been in there for a couple hours, the texture of your frosting should be something like this. It's more solid, as you can tell, but it's still soft, so just whip it up for about 30 seconds, I'd say, and now you're ready to just pipe it onto your cupcakes. But because I wanted to make the cupcakes kind of resemble a Malteser, I just used an ice cream scoop with one of those flippy things that flip out your ice cream for you, and just scooped a heap of my frosting, and along the sides of the bowl just wipe it down so that it becomes a flat surface, and then put it onto my cupcakes, and it's as easy as that. And as you can see here, if you want to use an ice cream scoop, it really needs that flippy thing because the frosting is quite sticky and it'll be pretty impossible to just scoop it onto your cupcakes if it didn't have the flippy thing. So once that's done, just stick it into your fridge for about half an hour to an hour so that it just chills up once again. Now you're ready to go on to make your chocolate dip. So, for your chocolate dip, all you will need is 115 grams of melted milk chocolate. So, you just break your chocolate up into little cubes and stick it into your microwave at 10-second intervals once again because you don't want to accidentally overheat and burn your chocolate. So after 10 seconds, give it a stir, and when your chocolate looks something like this with still little bits of chocolate left inside, keep on stirring it until all the heat from the already melted chocolate and the bowl continually helps to melt the rest of your chocolate until it looks really smooth like this. Once it's reached this stage, just add in 1 tablespoon of canola or vegetable oil. Keep in mind that you will want to use a bowl that is relatively small and is deeper rather than wider, so that it's going to be easier for you to dunk your cupcakes into the mixture. So once you've added your oil into your chocolate, just keep stirring it until there are no more streaks of the oil in the chocolate and it's completely combined together. So now just remove your cupcakes from the fridge and dunk the frosting bit into your chocolate dip, allowing the excess to just drip back into the bowl. As you can see, I didn't fully dunk it because as you go along, the chocolate will obviously reduce, making it harder to coat your entire frosting at once. So I just kind of held it slightly on a slant to allow the chocolate to drip down towards the cupcake while the excess being able to fall back into the bowl. And before it hardens, quickly just add 1 single Malteser to top it off, and there you have it. Once you're done with everything, you will see that they look so beautiful. They should already start to harden up. If not, if where you live is currently really warm, just stick it back into the fridge for about 5 minutes. It would harden up and you're just ready to devour them. You can store this in the fridge for about 3 to 5 days, but after the 3rd day, I can't guarantee that it's still going to taste as good as in the first 3 days, but I doubt they will last that long in your household. Anyways, if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and feel free to share it with all of your friends. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I know it's quite a long one, but till next time, I'm Cheryl N from Cherry Lane's Cupcakes.